Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Bekah Jo, aka the Makeup Tax Lady. Today we are doing a look. We are doing face swatches with, you guessed it, the Ensley Reign Groovy Garden palette. This palette is not new. It came out several months ago, but I love this palette and really just wanted to dig into it and share it with you. If you, like me, really enjoy Ensley Reign products, please check out the playlist. I'll have it linked in my description below. If you like seeing swatches on the face of an eyeshadow palette, a beautiful eyeshadow palette, then please check out that playlist because I have lots of videos where I swatch Ensley Reign palettes on my face. I also have a few other videos where I swatch products on my face. It's hard to beat putting the pretties on your face, whether it's where they belong or not. So here, of course, we have the final look and the final swatches, but if you'd like to see how all of this came together, then please stick around and let's get groovy. Here we are with no color on the face. I just have my fresh face with my IT Cosmetics concealer spread out all over my face with a splash of my Sydney Grace Cloud 9 powder on top. I also have my About Face eyeshadow primer on my lids, and despite really craving some blush and bronzer right now, we're gonna move straight into our eye look. What you know by now is that we are doing an eye look and face swatches with the Ensley Reign Groovy Garden palette. This is such a beautiful palette, beautiful color story, beautiful formulas, hits all the marks. I am craving this like red right now, so I really want to focus my look today on using the shade Lava Lamp. So I think for my first shade, I'm going to grab Mystic Mauve, which is this, I would not consider this a mauve. This is a kind of peachy, warm tone neutral shade. I will take that one and we'll start doing something. That is so good. This is my Refer 01, by the way. I just picked up one dip in the pan and spread that over my crease, blended it out all with the same brush, and that looks so good. I'm going to use the same brush and dip into Earthy Ember, which is this shade down here. And I think I'm gonna go for kind of a halo eye. So I'm going to put Earthy Ember on the outer corner and then kind of a little bit on the inner corner of my eye. I'm switching gears slightly and I'm going in with my What's Up Beauty R103 for the inner portion. I just wanted a little bit more tapered brush. To further deepen up the inner and outer portion of my eye, I'm going to use the shade Dig It, and this is my Sierra Martin D6 brush. I'm using this Refer 13, it's just a small blending brush, and I'm going to use this just to kind of make sure everything is well blended and soften the edges and all of that. I am losing my background outdoor window light, so I just turned on this lamp behind me, so if you notice a lighting change, that's all it was. Okay, now for the good stuff, the shade Lava Lamp. I want to use this over my whole lid. I may end up throwing another shade kind of in the center, but I really want Lava Lamp to be the star of the show, so let's do that. I'm just gonna pick it up with my fingertip. The shade is so delicious. You'll see in swatches in just a minute. Okay, so there is Lava Lamp on top of those mattes. Lava Lamp was one of those shades that when I picked up this palette, I really didn't know that I'd get much use out of it. Like a deepened orange / red shade isn't one that I really grab for all that much, especially one that's deep, that's got a real deep base to it. But this shade is so pretty. It's so cool. And I think it's such a fun addition to this palette. So I do think I want to add something to the center for the spotlighty effect. I think so many of these shades could do. This shade Jazzed is one that I reach for on a regular basis. I very much love this shade. I think for today, I'm gonna grab Retro and use just enough of this on the center of my eye just to add one more dimension to the look. Okay, I got a little fallout. I don't even care. That looks really pretty. It definitely, like, it's got green in it in the way that I've layered it here, but it definitely has, like, it's pulling that gold sparkle, at least the way that I'm seeing it. On the lower lash line, I'm gonna go in with a pop of color. I wanna use the shade Peace and run that pretty much all over the lower lash line. To blow that shade out just a little bit, I'm going to take Sage Serenity, and then I'll go back and clean up some of where I smudged that previous shade all over, and I'll add a little bit more concealer too. This is probably the most dramatic lower lash line / eye look that I've done in a hot minute. If it looks a little messy, it's all user error. That's nothing against the palette. Do you ever just like get in a groove where you're just loving playing with makeup or whatever hobby maybe it is for you, and you're like so eager to just play with it that you like forget to use the techniques that you've learned all along and you just go for it? Forgive me. That's where I'm at today. It is what it is. I'm having fun. I still have a little bit more blending to do. I did go into the lower lash line and use this Thrive Cosmetics Infinity Waterproof Eyeliner. This is the shade Lizzie. So it's just kind of a deepened olive shade. I just used that in my waterline. I also did go back in and add just a little more concealer under my eyes and on my cheeks. I want to use a splash of Jazzed on my inner corner and then pull that into my lower lash line a little bit. It's grungy, it's shimmering. I'm gonna go add some mascara, finish up my blending, and I'll be right back. Okay, mascara is on. It's not the most impactful mascara, and I wish I had something a little bit bolder to wear with this eye, but I already have 2 mascaras open right now. I'm not opening another. Just for reference, that was my Maybelline Sky High waterproof mascara. I'm also like feeling fall tones, fall vibes with these colors. Not that you have to. Not that this palette is only catered to fall, but my gosh, is it a beautiful fall palette. They released this palette in the spring, and I think it's good for all year round. I think it can hit every season. It's absolutely some of my favorite tones in some of my favorite formulas. When they released this palette, I was very much in a like, give me all the mattes. Not that I didn't like shimmers, it's just kind of what I was drawn to at the time was just playing with mattes and different shades of mattes and layering different mattes and pairing different mattes together. And this palette hit the spot. And it is so much fun. I have loved having this palette. Now to compensate, if you will, for the lack of color in blush, bronzer, etc. on my face, let's put these shades on my face. I'm ready to do some swatches. I am going to start in this row of shimmers because let's be real, they're in the center for a reason. I'm going to swatch those on this cheek and we will just get to see what they're about. Starting right off here with the first shade, we have Free Spirit, Moonchild, and Jazzed. Here on my fingers, we have Free Spirit, Moonchild, and Jazzed. Free Spirit is a bit flakier in the pan, but you can see it's really smoothed out beautifully on my finger. Both Moonchild and Jazzed are very, very smooth. If you are not new to my channel, then you know how fitting these shades are. All of the shimmers in this palette are beautiful and have a place, but like if I had a palette with only 3 shimmers and the rest were mattes, these 3 as my shimmers, that'd be perfect. That'd be so perfect. So Free Spirit has a little bit of a pink base, kind of maybe a hot pink base with this beautiful blue flash to it. Moonchild has a white / iridescent base with a lemon lime flash to it. And Jazzed, we've seen this shade before. I don't care. I want it in every Ensley Reign palette. This has kind of a brown base with a green shift to it as well. These 2 shades especially though just disappear when I turn my face. And then the first shade, Free Spirit, is not totally gone when I shift my face away, but it's still a fleshy color, so it's not like a strong base pigment to it. I am already going to run out of room on this cheek, so I'll probably do 1 more shimmer here and then we'll do the other 3 on this cheek. The last shimmer to use on this cheek is the shade Retro right here. Here's the finger swatch of Retro. It's definitely a little bit chunkier, and this shade is like, it's easy to get plenty on your finger or on your brush. So with Retro especially, but also a little bit with Free Spirit, I like to kind of pick it up with my finger, or if I'm using a brush, and then just kind of gently scrape the extra layer on the inside of the pan, so I'm not losing the pigment, but I'm also not picking up like way too much. Oh my gosh, Retro is so pretty. So Retro has a little bit more saturation, a little bit more pigment to it. It has a green base with this beautiful gold flash that somehow, like, the green base gets stronger when you can also see the gold flash. And I think there's little speckles of orange in there. Such a pretty shade. Okay, our last 3 shimmers that we're gonna swatch on this cheek, we've got Vintage Vibes, Trippy, and Lava Lamp. Here on my fingers, we have Vintage Vibes, Trippy, and Lava Lamp. All 3 of these shades are very smooth. Vintage Vibes has maybe a smidge of crumbliness to it, but it's not flaky or textured like Retro or Free Spirit are. Here are the last 3 shimmers on this cheek. These shades, all 3 definitely have a base pigment to them, deeper than these 4. Lava Lamp being the deepest. I don't know if it's a fully black base multichrome, but a very deep base multichrome. And then when you get it in the light, it's got that beautiful fiery orange red flash to it. And then there's sparkle in there. Oh, it's so pretty. Trippy here you see has a very deep green, almost a little bit of teal in there for a base, and then it's got this really refined, really smooth goldy green on top, so it's almost just a more pigmented, deepened shade of a Retro over here. And then Vintage Vibes is this beautiful classic shade, in my opinion. It's got this deepened brown red base with a real pretty gold to it. Hopefully we're seeing already just how well these different shades, both between the bases and then the flash, the shift on them, how well they can go together. Now let's dig into these yummy mattes. We're gonna get creative with how we put these mattes on. I'm going to start with these first 3 shades and see if I can fit them in right here on my cheek, and then we'll go from there. So these first 3 shades are Free Thinker, Bliss, and Free Love. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but hopefully you can see the little mushroom imprints in the pans on the mattes. And they're imprinted in there, so it's not just an overspray. They are hanging out for quite a while. On my fingers, we have Free Thinker, Bliss, and Free Love. So these two shades are definitely lighter colors, and Free Love is ever so slightly deeper than my skin tone. Of course, when I put them on my cheek, it was the one in the middle that totally disappeared. So there are those three shades. None of us are surprised that those first couple shades aren't very evident on my skin tone, but I think they are beautiful and really nice in this palette to have as a blending shade. When I was finishing some of this blending in the outer portion of my eyes before I came back, I used a little bit of Bliss, so I didn't show it on camera. But just having that like bone skin tone shade to help the placement of the colors and then the blending out into the rest of my skin tone, I love that. I think that's so nice to have that. If I was an underbrow highlighter kind of gal, Free Thinker would be perfect for that. Or if you're just going for like a matte inner corner, Free Thinker would be perfect for that as well. Also, as we saw while I was working with the shades on my eyes, and then we're kind of seeing it now too, these shades are buildable. So you know, one quick little layer on my cheek is not the end of the use that you can get out of these products, especially out of these mattes, because they just blend beautifully. So you really can keep working with the shade, adding layers as you want to, blending as you would like to. If you're feeling punchy, you can always dip the same brush into two different shades. So maybe you really want to use the shade Grass, but it's just a little bit deeper than what you're thinking. You can dip back and forth between Grass and Free Thinker and come up with a slightly lighter shade. Same goes with the deeper end of the palette. You could take Grass and Dig It and kind of go back and forth between those two to get a blend between those two shades before you even put it on your eyes. I love mattes. I think working with a beautiful matte formula is so much fun. Okay, let's keep swatching. I'm gonna grab Mystic Mauve, Marvy, and Sage Serenity. And I'm going to swatch those on my forehead. Here on my hand, we have Mystic Mauve, Marvy, and Sage Serenity. Those two shades, oh my goodness, I need to make that into a look. I've been loving combining pinks and greens lately, of all different pinks and all different greens. And so now seeing those two together, that's a smart combination. I really need to try that. Keeping it moving, I'm gonna grab the shade Peace, Grass, and Foxy. Here on my fingers, we have Peace, Grass, and Foxy. Next, we have Good Vibes, Earthy Ember, and Hazy Dreams. And this three color combo, if that doesn't scream the 70s to you, that's fine, but it screams the 70s to me. So on my fingers, we have Good Vibes, Earthy Ember, and Hazy Dreams. Last two shades in the palette, we have Babe and Dig It. Look at these yummy, yummy deep shades. We have again, Babe and Dig It. There are all the beautiful swatches of the Ensley Reign Groovy Garden palette. I picked up this palette on launch day. I love this palette so much. I'm glad it's in my collection. I generally have a love for the styles and the colors of the 1960s and 1970s, so this palette speaks to me on that level as well. I love all of these colors on my own personal skin tone. I don't typically reach for like a peachy color, so like these shades are not like a go-to shade for me, but there's also something a little bit more earthy about these peachier tones on this palette that they don't intimidate me. Plus, they have all of these other beautiful shades that are totally in my wheelhouse, so I'm not intimidated because we're just working with these beautiful earth tones, but of variety. This is not a monotonous or one-tone palette, and I love that about it. I think the artwork on the outside is absolutely gorgeous. Got kind of a similar picture here on the back. And then on the inside, we don't have a mirror. which I personally don't really mind. And then once again, just this beautiful color story, 14 mattes, 7 shimmers, 21 shades in total. Of all things eyeshadow, I love pinks, greens, and purples, and I love earthy tones, absolutely. I love Ensley Reign so much. This palette is definitely a top palette for me. It's a beautiful palette that if I'm just not sure what to wear, I can go in with a number of these matte shades and do just a matte look, or do a matte look with just a splash of a shimmer, or just go into some of these shimmers and like do it simple, keep it simple. And I love that. I think, like I said before, that this is a spring, summer, fall, winter palette. I don't think you have to use any particular color scheme for any season personally. Another thing that I just love about Ensley Reign is that in most of their palettes, I think all of the palettes that they currently have available for sale, the pans are magnetic and removable, so you can rearrange, you can switch them out with your other palettes if you're trying to create your perfect color story. If you like to build your own palette, BYOP, you can pull these out and use these in a BYOP. The only palette from them that I have that is not removable pans is the Flower Moon palette, because I have the original version. I don't know that I would do anything to tweak this color story. This one is just so beautiful, in my opinion. So whether you have this palette, whether you just love these colors and you want to be inspired, maybe you're just here because you like hearing about makeup, I'm right there with you. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope that you were inspired or encouraged or feeling a little bit more creative after watching this video. I have been on a kick lately about just playing with makeup, especially with eyeshadow. Like I said, just having fun, just trying different things, wearing the colors, and I hope that you can enjoy a little bit of that spark too. So if you liked the video, I'd love it if you give it a like. If you have any thoughts or questions, please feel free to add them to the comment section. And if you're new here, I'd love it if you'd consider becoming a subscriber. I have a playlist with lots of Ensley Reign stuff. I have done many other face swatches of Ensley Reign palettes, and I have more to go. So if you enjoy that kind of content, please stick around. I'd love to have you back. Once again, thanks so much for joining me here today, and I hope to see you in my next one.